I myself used to be a bit of the chubby McGee, we'll say. Granted, I was a teenager at the time, but yeah, dude, I used to have some man boobage. Actually, not even just when I was a teenager, but also when I was a kid, I used to get picked on for it, because not only was I Asian, but I was also a little chubby, which meant, you know, my cheeks were a little chubby, I had a little bit of a gut, you know. I wasn't like, I was never like necessarily like way overweight or nothing like that. Like, I was never at a point where I couldn't like see my own toes or anything like that, or I genuinely started having like serious health issues. But I mean, I was having some health issues, and I was genuinely a little overweight. It actually wasn't even until like 2019, I want to say, to where like, or maybe it was like 2019, I finally started taking my health a bit more seriously and tried to like, you know, genuinely get in shape, clean up my diet a good bit. And unfortunately, I did take it a bit too far, and not to get too far into it, if you've been watching the channel for a couple years now, then you actually would have seen my whole road to recovery from when I was like anorexic until I was, well, healthy again. I'm not going to give exact numbers because I know, like, you know, if you're like struggling with an eating disorder right now, I'm talking from experience. I know that just hearing numbers and weights and calories and all that can be triggering just to even hear those words in themselves. So I'm not going to say like exact numbers, but I will say by the time that I started my recovery from anorexia at the end of 2021, I was in the double digits in terms of my weight, and not by just like some small margin, we'll say. I was quite below the 100 mark. So from there, it took me about a year to recover from that. But, you know, all that aside, before I started taking things, you know, completely out of control, which it would have been around like 2020, because again, 2018, 2019, tried to clean up my diet. Sometime in 2020, I took things a bit too overboard and didn't even realize what I was doing to myself, and then I was just in that state of anorexia for almost 2 years. But I don't know if anybody out there necessarily needs to hear this, but I mean, just in case, you know, if you are struggling with an eating disorder, or if you're struggling with like, you know, just like getting in shape, whether it's being underweight or overweight, because I've been on both ends of the spectrum. If you're overweight, I can simply tell you the easiest way to start is to just deal with whatever comes your way now. And actually, that goes for both things, whether you're trying to gain or lose weight. Just deal with whatever comes now. The more you push yourself now, the faster you're gonna feel better, and the faster you're just gonna get better. Obviously, none of this is professional like medical advice. I would always recommend seeing a doctor or a nutritionist just to make sure your body is getting what you need, and to make sure that you don't actually end up hurting yourself or making things worse in some way or another. But for me personally, I ended up just doing it with no doctors, no nutritionists or whatever. I just did. You know, it's one of those things. I'm very in tune with my body. It was obviously quite dangerous considering how low on the weight spectrum I was, if we're gonna be honest here. But yeah, you know, I just kind of did it on my own, did my own thing. When I was overweight, I just, you know, cut back when I was eating, started exercising more, and while yes, at first it sucked and my body was like, I need food, even though clearly I didn't need food. I wasn't fasting by any means. I was just like, you know, cutting back what I ate, cutting out some of the garbage, drinking less soda and stuff like that. And yeah, you know, that was huge. So literally just, you know, I'm not trying to, you know, have it be as reductive as, oh, just eat better and exercise. It's that simple, dude. Like, no, I know it's not just that simple, especially if you have like a disorder of some kind, but I'm telling you, the more uncomfortable you're willing to make yourself now, the faster you'll see results and the better you'll feel sooner, trust me. And I feel like this is always a relevant conversation to have, because I feel like everybody, no matter how in shape you are, you're always in that, you know, almost like the pursuit of happiness per se, but in this case, like the pursuit of being like more fit. Like, oh, I could just be a few pounds more, or a few pounds less, or get just a little bit more muscle. So, you know, again, I feel like this conversation is always relevant to most people to some extent. And then when it came to being underweight, I'm not gonna lie to you guys, as I just mentioned, I was very underweight by a wide margin, by a few dozen pounds. And it was pretty brutal at first, but I went from eating like not, again, okay, I don't actually want to throw numbers out. I almost threw numbers out there, but again, I don't necessarily want to do that. I was not eating a good amount of calories every single day before my recovery, but by the time that I did start recovery, I like slowly amped it up, and at first I went to 2,000 calories a day, and then every single day I was literally just adding on 100 calories, and it was a very quick ramp up process, and it was a very uncomfortable process for me. And then from there, I proceeded to eat between 2,900 to 3,000 calories every single day, even with how underweight I was. So again, it was very uncomfortable. I never felt good. It required a lot of like walking outside of my neighborhood just to like help my body digest and move things through. Again, you want to be careful because you don't want to overdo the exercise and end up like mitigating some of what you're doing or trying to make up for it in your mind. Because I remember how my mindset was with stuff like that. I was like, oh, well, even though I'm eating more, but, it's fine. I can walk a little more, burn off some more calories, right? But no, again, that's that toxic eating disorder mindset trying to come through. But yeah, for that like entire year, from the end of 2021 up until 2022, like the end of 2022, like I want to say like November of that year, it's basically like an entire year of just doing that every day. It literally took that long for my body to not only like gain the weight back, but I also had to do a lot of like strength training, whether that be on my arms or my legs or one thing or another. Like it really was like a whole process, having to work out a ton every day. And again, it wasn't like I was doing like super strenuous exercises every day, like hitting the gym, because obviously my body needed some time to just genuinely rest and recover on top of everything. But it was a lot of like I guess you could say like slower workouts that were still good for muscle, whether that be like lifting up cases of water or doing squats or one thing or another, just like slowly rebuilding my muscles and also giving my body time to rest when it told me that it needed it. Because that really is the most important thing. You really do need to listen to your body. Like, it's important to push yourself and make yourself uncomfortable, but if you start to feel like genuinely unwell or like something is wrong, then yeah, you should always seek like professional medical help as soon as possible. But yeah, thankfully I'm all good now. Obviously it's been like 2 years since then, and I genuinely feel the best I ever have. I've been able to maintain the same amount of calories every single day for the last 2 years. I still do my exercises. I go outside and run 5 miles every single day, which I feel great. Genuinely, it's like the best I've ever felt.